In this lesson, I invite you to play with this tripod, a support we will have in the end, and approach it from various angles and see what ideas you can come up with. Hello, welcome or welcome back. Let's do a first movement. Please come onto your mat and maybe you cushion it up a bit like I did today. And our goal is to put the hands on the floor and the top of the head on the floor and then the feet up in the air. And from my perspective, there's a couple of movements leading to this. So you can try that, boom, first. And what are the lessons connected with this lesson? So we're looking at this from a totally different perspective actually than maybe other headstand tutorials. So first of all, we need to decide where to put the hands. So you could explore that, how narrow or wide of a stance you will want to have. And then where do you want to place your head on the floor and how far, like what kind of a triangle you want to make and where do you want to point your hands, and this will improve, you will calibrate these things during the lesson. So, but we will start with standing on all fours. So this is I think this is a legit start to this movement. And to bring down the head, you have to probably bend your elbows, but in which direction? And yeah, so these are the questions. We had this lesson called thread the needle or cheek on the floor, where we would stand only on one hand and then put the head on the floor. So maybe this is a nice lead up. So try this to put your cheek on the floor, and on the other side. So you can play with this and how big is your little gate you're forming with your knee and the standing hand, the hand that is protecting the neck when you roll forwards and backwards and up and down. So I think it's not optional to skip this lesson. You might want to go back into history. That's like a couple of years ago already when I made this video and uploaded this video to play with extension and flexion and rolling to the side just to make enough space and to become familiar. So my strategy to come into a headstand is we roll from various sides. We can come from various sides and displace our limbs and shift weight and side bend and extend and flex and rotate, and suddenly we are up on our head and we could come from any side and we can go down to any side. So this is the concept. We roll up to a headstand. So it's not this major thing that's the major travel destination, but it's just something that happens as a result of doing other things. And we need to prepare this. And so you can play with this. And one of the lessons I did not do yet is the judo roll, where you would be in this position and you're the same, like threading the needle, and your shoulder is soft, and then you would lift one leg. And if I would roll now, I would probably just fall over onto my side. And if your carpet is soft, you can play with these movements to catch your weight with your leg. So in this lesson, I just invite you to play with this tripod, a support we will have in the end, and approach it from various angles and see what ideas you can come up with when you play with these motions. So we have the judo roll over one side. Playing judo, I always rolled over only one side and the other side felt totally strange. So how is it for you? Do you feel like if you would roll over one shoulder, that feels more natural than the other one? And just as of lately, I started to work with this, so I just came down onto the floor to one side and to the other side and started to have a more familiar feeling on both sides, just to get used to that. And then there's another problem. I had a skiing accident when I was 17, and since then my back was not the same, and I went to a lot of therapy. So I always had a problem with my back, and only in recent years it was a long journey. It was like I needed like 2 decades to find out how to have a lower back that doesn't bother me. So all of the videos on my channel are about basic movement patterns, most of them very safe to do, and come from my work with clients with chronic pain and finding patterns and an internal body organization that creates an internal organization, a way of movement where there's no room for pain. So then if there's no room for pain, then there's no room for pain. So that's the organization we're looking for. But the headstand is a thing that's not very useful in everyday life, and I don't use it in therapy. So, but now, this is my journey as well. I develop as a human being. So, are you still playing with these movements? So you might have discovered when you're on all fours, stand your toes and extend your feet. Did you already play with this now? Did you find this pattern? Or the side bending? We did side bending on all fours. I call it the sciatica lesson. So that's important for this lesson, to put down the head, because when you put down the head, how would you lift your feet? So standing your toes, I hope the microphone is okay. Standing your toes is part of this movement. We play with this in a lesson called Towards Japanese Sitting. So you might want to review this one. And there's a movement sequence I did not do. So when you come to sit backwards, we did this. And we did this in a couple of variations, so that's okay. But you notice, so please come, when you're on all fours, come backwards and sit backwards. Try that, okay? So sit backwards onto your left foot only. And actually, when you sit backwards onto your left foot only, and maybe if you sit backwards to your left, you can feel your right knee come off. And I did not include this lesson in my YouTube videos here, and I will not, because this is can be trouble for the knee, and I don't want to put you in a situation that could be bad for your knee when you have to travel over your knee. So be careful with this. But there's a lesson where you cross over your leg and you come to sit in between. So I did hold my breath now. So these are movement patterns, or to walk your foot to. So I never teach this lesson, so I don't even have language for this. So you're on all fours, you bring your right knee forwards in between your hands, and then you stick it back. You stick your foot back on the other side. So language develops with movement, or with what we have to do. So when you work as a software engineer, your language is that of a software engineer or of an engineer in general, or of a doctor or of an architect. You have a different language to describe things. If you're a chef, you develop your language. So I, as a movement teacher, develop my language for movement. So how to describe such a movement. I call this lesson preparation for a headstand. Maybe I should call it freestyle, because I want you to experiment. I want you to find what movements will we eventually need and go through to arrive in this candle-like tripod. So we have these movements of Japanese sitting, of weight shifting. We did a lot of weight shifting in standing and kneeling to standing. We did these wonderful lessons. Let's continue like this. Okay, so put down your head, the top of your head on the floor, so you're on your hands. Put down the head, and yes, you could. I can look in different directions, and you can come from different directions. So move your pelvis towards your head, more over your head, so you're rounding a little bit more, so you have a little bit more weight on your head, and you could come from different angles onto your head. So you can side shift your pelvis to the right and to the left. And then come up again and take a break. And if you haven't done this for a couple of months or a couple of years or decades, I urge you to stop and come up to sit again and then try again. And we only do this for a few minutes, because with this kind of lesson, it's not only the brain that needs to learn these movements, or we don't only use the nervous system to explore. So many lessons are just about learning, but this lesson is about building structure and probably also strengthening muscle strength, muscle endurance, muscle coordination, organization, how muscles work together, how muscle groups work together, harmonization, all these, everything we did before, plus we need to bear weight in a different situation, and we probably need to build some muscles. So try again. And if you continue to be on your head and your hands, try to lift one knee. Try to, let's say, the right knee. Try to lift your right knee, and if you lift your right knee, you will notice there's ways to make this very difficult. But right knee is so heavy. But if you shift your weight and if you side bend, it will be easy to lift your right knee. And try that a couple of times with your right knee. To shift your weight so you can lift your right knee. And if you haven't done the kneeling to standing lessons, I did already here, like 3 or 4 videos, I urge you to do them to have a good feeling for lifting your knee. And then you can stand your foot and lift your knee. And the other one as well. And always remember to take a break, because tomorrow you might have a sore chest, or your neck will be sore. Maybe you want to stop or just want to watch. Like, let's see what will be our feeling tomorrow after just this couple of minutes. But let's continue a little bit further. So if you're in good shape, let's continue a little bit further to lift both knees, just one first and then the other, and remember to shift. This should be really easy. And if it's not easy, you need to explore more and do a couple of more lessons, and proceed only when it's really easy. So to shift the weight, stand the toes, shift the weight, lift the right knee, and then find a way to lift the left knee. So both knees are up. And when that is easy, you can start to walk your feet closer to your hands or further away. If your knees are close to your elbows, you can make this little step, maybe right and left. to bring your knees on top of your elbows and maybe take a rest. And also you have the side bending and the weight shifting. It's still there. It's just a way of making yourself smaller. Let's do something else. Please come to lie on your back. So we take a rest on the back and we try to come up from the other side. So we would come into the tripod headstand from being on the back. How would we do this? How? Can you still do this? Did you do this lately? To swing your feet up to be on the other side? To swing your feet up. So eventually we could roll in the other direction. So let's see if the lower back can handle this. And if you haven't done this swing up for a while, we need to prepare it. And for that, we already have lessons here on YouTube. You and me. I did some lessons. For example, to roll over the right, to roll over the elbows to come up to sitting from supine. So we had a couple, I think I have a couple of versions of this where we have the side bending and then the roll over the elbow to come to sit. And on the other side, there was a little corner, so I need to smooth it out, and then the lesson ends with rolling over smoothly, up and down, until it was really easy to come to sit like this, or to roll back on the back, and that's a sensible workout for the core muscles. So the core muscles need to activate a little bit to allow for this smooth little roll. Explore these movements for yourself. I hope, if you haven't done this lesson yet, find it on my channel and do this lesson to roll up over the elbow to come to sit. And once you can roll up nicely into this direction, once you can roll up easily from lying down to sitting, so it's over the elbow, rolling over the elbow, then you might as well. There's other lessons. I think, yes, there was one lesson where we held one foot to roll up to sit. Or maybe we could do this only with the knees to roll up to sit. So we roll and roll. Maybe we can roll in the other direction as well. Oi. So I will see. So actually I feel nice. Actually my back doesn't feel bad. So probably I did not make a mistake yet. I will see tomorrow. So these are the things I want you to explore and to play with on your own. So practice with these kinds of rolls and movements. So we come from different sides. And let's do the triangle headstand, the beginning one more time. So the hands, you're on all fours, and we have the weight shift and the side bend, and bring your head down on the floor. And shift your weight so you can lift one. And you will notice one, it's easier to one side. It's just the same like with kneeling and with standing, and you're still the same person, so it's easier to lift one knee than the other on all fours. We could do these bird dog things, but not a proper core bird dog, but a weight shift bird dog where you feel that the weight comes more on one leg and the other. And then it's easy to lift the leg off, to float the leg. So that's not a proper core exercise. Maybe it's a core exercise, but a different one, because in a proper bird dog, you need to not move your spine and lift the leg without shifting your weight. And then it's like a real core exercise because we are loading the core with the weight of the leg, and it's just a movement in the hip joint. But now we're looking for this weight shift, extending the leg, shifting the weight until the leg can float up. So maybe I need to do some push-ups also. Maybe some upper body strength exercises like push-up and pull-up would also fit this in this progression. So our last movement. Let's bring the knees up onto the elbows. And from here, when the knees are on the elbows, we could roll to the side or roll forwards or roll backwards. Not do too much, so I don't want to make like a complete lesson of this. I just want to play with these movements a little bit and invite you to play with these movements and have the question of what lessons touch this lesson? What do you have to do to prepare to roll onto your hand and your hands and eventually come up into a headstand? So that's it for today. I hope this was interesting. I hope I could make you curious a little bit about how to roll up into this position. Practice this like maybe just a couple of minutes every other day, and I will do another video on this later when I'm deeper into this journey myself, when I know more about this movement myself, when my structure followed what I want to do. So now we talk to our bodies through movement. So we tell our bodies what we want through movement. So when we sit on a chair and then sit in a car and then sit on a couch, we tell our body we don't want much, we just want to slump and we want to lose our strength and our stability. And that's what the body does for us. It's just, he just want to sit and he want to lose all his muscles. Okay, and then let's do this. And then we are in trouble. And the other way, like when you start to do this, and you say, see, I want to do that, can we work this out together? And when you don't push it too hard, but you push it consistently, and your body realizes, yeah, okay, he really wants that, or she's going into this direction, let's make that possible. And that's how it becomes possible. And soon enough, if we do a couple of push-ups, or a couple of pull-ups, or a couple of, like this, come on our head a little bit, the body will provide that for us, provided that we are gentle enough, provided that we go slow enough. Everybody can get there. That's a quote from Moshe Feldenkrais.
Now slowly, you can see that everybody can get there, provided you go gradually, provided you don't force it.
Play with these movements, and we will see in the future where this will lead to. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.